What's up, people? Welcome back. Happy Friday to everyone. Welcome back to another episode of a match preview this time on Chic TV. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who's tuned in at the moment. I see you guys. Warrior, big up. RSV, big up. Big up to you guys. I'll get into your comment, RSV, in just a little bit. But yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. Besides, obviously football and stuff like that. I hope everything with your family and stuff is okay. Everyone's all healthy and blessed. But yeah, to get into this video is basically going to be about Dan Ashworth's news to United, and also basically a match preview for the Luton Town game that we play on Sunday. So I will be by myself today. Spooby unfortunately was not able to join. He has some stuff to take care of. I think it is his brother's birthday, so happy birthday to his brother. He's going out for a little dinner, so just taking care of priorities. But this will be a solo dolo, just be by myself. And yeah, we'll pretty much get right into it. So I think the first thing that we'll basically talk about is this whole Dan Ashworth news with United. So a couple of things real quick. If you guys don't already know about Dan Ashworth, let me actually pull up some stuff here real quick. Everybody who's here, definitely smash a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share across all your socials. Let everybody know that Sheik's just gone live, man, and get some people in the chat so we can have a good conversation about this whole Dan Ashworth and also this Luton Town preview. So, if you guys don't already know about Dan Ashworth, so Dan Ashworth currently is the sporting director of Luton, not Luton Town. I'm sorry, Newcastle United. So Dan Ashworth they call him basically one of the brilliant minds in football, and the reason why they call him that is because he's been at several clubs in the past, and more just he's notable for all of his work that he's done at these specific clubs. So if we get into these clubs, basically, I'm thinking Brighton at the top of my head, Newcastle currently, and then he's also been at West Brom back in like 2007. Dan Ashworth was a player as well. He was a non-league player, non-league football player, and then but he's more notable of his work in more of these Premier League teams. Just some things that I guess we can say about Dan Ashworth is that he's obviously this Newcastle turnaround that he's done for them, getting them into the Champions League, buying the players that he has for them in terms of just the football structure, he's brought a lot of these clubs to where they are at this moment. Brighton as well, like he's made them a team that now does compete at least in the top 10 of the Premier League. This whole thing that we say about Brighton, where they're good at developing players and they sell them off to bigger clubs for good prices and big prices. That's a lot to do with Dan Ashworth. So my thoughts about this news is again, I do want to reiterate like this whole Ineos thing that this transition that we're going into with Ineos. Big up to you, M. De Niro, my brother, and then Warrior. I'll get into your comment as well. But this whole Dan Ashworth thing that's going on with United at the moment, do I think it's a good move? Yes, 100%. But am I still kind of scared and nervous of what this whole regime will turn out to be? Yes, 100%. But what I can say is that we are definitely going into the right direction in terms of us being a club that actually takes things seriously. So, yes, 100%. I'm not gonna say that I'm gassed by this news, but I'd rather put it into terms that I'm excited, but also a little bit scared. Just with the fact that you know the Glazers are still here. It's only 25%. From what I'm guessing, and all of us have probably worked at, jobs in our life where we do still have, certain type of owners or managers above us, and we might be in a position where we do have a lot of the say. But end of the day, it all goes through, in this case, the Glazers. So let's say, you're at your job and you're in this position where you get to have some sort of say. The final say does always go through your manager, your boss, or like the owners in the situation. And that's kind of the thing that I'm scared about in terms of this with the Glazers is that let's say we have Omar Barada, we have Brailsworth, we have Ashworth now. We're also linked to Wilcox as well, someone who's who's at Southampton at the moment. All that type of stuff is cool, but it's like in terms of whatever they do and whatever decisions they decide to make, will that still go under the last say of the Glazers? That's basically what I'm kind of interested to see. Obviously, we're not going to find out about all of this stuff even in the next course of the season, but that's something that I guess I'm concerned about. You guys also let me know your thoughts about this whole Dan Ashford thing and what you guys think will basically happen in terms of this. But RSV brings up a pretty good comment. He says, big up to you, RSV, every single time. Pretty optimistic for a new change under Ineos. So far, they have proven me wrong. I hear you, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. I am kind of excited about this whole thing and the direction that we're moving in, but it's just I have to really see the decisions that they make next season. But like I said, man, it's looking good. We're finally looking like a serious club at this moment. Like these appointments that we've had, mind you, some of these appointments are from rival clubs, and some of these appointments are from clubs who do already kind of have a very good structure going. The fact that Dan Ashworth, and I do want to say this too, Dan Ashworth is not confirmed to United at the moment, but there are very strong links indicating that he himself wants to move to United. And they're in the middle of their process at this moment. They're in the middle of their you could say rebuild. Just Newcastle being this club that's also competing. Obviously, he's brought them back into the Champions League after years and years. This current season, and then just look at the players that they've signed too. Obviously Tonali is someone who's not playing at the moment because of his off the field scandals. But this whole signing of Tonali is someone that I wouldn't necessarily say that I rate, but he's a big signing for Newcastle to get, for especially from a team like AC Milan as well. So you've got Isak, you've got all these other players, Harvey Barnes that he signed, and it just looks like what in the direction that Dan Ashford goes into is not the fact that he wants to get big player signings, but it's more of the fact that he wants to get the best and the right signings for the club. And that's basically what I kind of like about Dan Ashford at this moment is that we've had this problem at this club for years now where we go for big name signings. And do they necessarily work out? No. But I get what this whole idea is just to because the Glazers have made certain signings in the past. For example, Ronaldo, who I've said before too. Ronaldo is a goat of this club. He's the go in my eyes. He's the best player for me personally. He's one of my favorite players growing up. He's one of the reasons why I was a United fan. But the whole idea that we tried to sign him again was not based off of improving the team. It was basically just a commercial signing. It was to get shirt sales, it was to get this feel good factor around this club, kind of letting our fan base know, like from the Glazers, that we do care about this club and everything is cool and stuff like that. So, um, what I like about Dan Ashworth is that from the signings that he's made at his respective clubs, he looks like a guy who doesn't want to have these big name signings, but just to have the best signings. Like I'm not saying sign the best players in the world, sign players that would improve our team, sign players that would basically um, fit into our team, fit into the style of play that our current manager or our next manager would want, just stuff like that. I think one of the biggest reasons why Ten Hag's reign so far has been the way that it has been this season, and also just the reason why we've signed a lot of the players is because a lot of this had to do with Ten Hag's say. And I feel like Ten Hag in the department that he's in, he's a manager and he's a coach at the end of the day. I think he should stick to that job. You're supposed to manage the current players that you have. Am I saying that Ten Hag's talent ID has been the best? No, it hasn't really been the best. Look at the players that we've signed. Look at some of the players that we signed last season too, in terms of loan deals this year. This whole Mason Mount stuff like that. Onana too, if you guys agree with Onana being a good signing or not. It's just the fact that I feel like Ten Hag should not have a say in, not have a big say in a lot of these transfer dealings because we've seen what his talent ID turns out to be, and we've seen like the players that we've signed. So I'm happy that we have people in their specific departments who some I guess would consider the best or not the best but close to the best in those certain departments doing their job. And I feel like if everyone can collectively do their job and be in the positions that they are, definitely this club could be back to where it belongs. But Still very, very long, long way to go. Obviously, Dan Ashworth's not even confirmed yet, so we have to see in the next couple of days what's going to go on with this whole news. All I'm hearing though, because Fabrizio and David Ornstein have both tweeted this, and I can bring up the tweets as well, that Dan Ashworth wants United. He's ready to quit this current his current job that he has with Newcastle, and he's ready to come to United. And I think there's been reports of Omar Barada actually is someone who's worked with Dan Ashworth before too. I'm assuming, but he's the one who put out a good name for him. I guess these are just some reports that I'm hearing, but yeah, man. I mean, in terms of the people that we've already had at our club, it just seems like United are deciding to be a serious club again, and we'll see. It still has a lot to do with who we end up signing from, or who we end up getting from as our manager, but it's just stuff like that, man. We gotta see what happens in next season as well. So let me bring up some of these comments real quick. RSV says Joel Glazer still micromanages the club as he has the ultimate final say and still holds Class B shares. Class B shares are worth like 10 times the voting rights compared to Class A shares. That is my only biggest worry. Um, and yeah, I guess he's referring to the fact that because I was talking about how the Glazers might have a final say, and that's still something that I am kind of scared about. Um, I don't know too much about these Class A and Class B shares, but I'm glad that you were able to put these comments in. So it does kind of make sense that basically, if you even though it's a Class B share, it seems like you have more of the power as compared to the Class A shares. And Joel Glazer still currently has the Class B shares at this club. So yeah, like you said, this is your biggest worry. This is my biggest worry too, man. Is that I feel like Dan Ashford might bring Omar Barada might bring suitable names on the table to the Glazers, and the Glazers will ultimately have the final say because they might not think that some signings might be commercial signings, and just with how they've moved in the past, that's like my biggest worry is that we might have good players that might fit our system on the table, but these Glazers might say no to them just because it doesn't profit them financially or for whatever reason, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna bring up some tweets real quick. There was this one specific tweet that I saw on Twitter, and I will share this. It's really funny because there's this whole joke going on about his laptop, apparently, like Dan Ashford's laptop, which I think, by the way, is like it's the way that it's being overhyped is crazy. It's just the fact that we're just talking about a laptop. Like, come on now, every sporting director has some sort of like laptop, right? Another comment that he brings is when ETH first joined Ajax, he took no advice from Overmars. His first signings were all flops, Valhalla, and not a single one of them were Mark Overmars and Ajax recruitment team signings. So this tells us a lot about just Ten Hag's ideal and I guess his just talent ID. I mean, you said it here yourself that a lot of their signings were flops, and I don't know a lot of his signings at Ajax, but even to compare Ajax to United, it's a mile difference. Like this is a much much bigger club where you have much much bigger pressure. You have the fan base is not the same. Even though Ajax, I think, are a very decorated club and where they belong, and even in the Champions League too, they've won Champions League in the past. But when you consider the amount of pressure, the amount of eyes that are on you all the time, like at Man United, you're expected to win from the fan base. You're expected to win and compete for trophies every single season. Like a lot of people standards have changed. I'm not gonna lie, our fan base like does think that top four is acceptable, but to me personally, top four is not an acceptable thing with the club that we are. We're Manchester United Football Club at the end of the day. We might just be the name right now, but we still have standards. And we've seen our team in the past with, we've looked at our squads in the past, and a lot of people who watch football right now wouldn't necessarily think that these teams would win trophies or these teams in the past would have won trophies, but they have. That's just a reality. And that comes a lot with, recruitment, the right coach, also players just, having the standards themselves. So collectively, we already know the problems that are United at like this moment, but it's just the fact that we're starting to get people we're starting to look serious because we're getting people who are very high up in their departments, and they just basically look like they're ones who want to, get the club back to where it belongs. And United will never have a problem in terms of pull. We will always try to bring the best of the best. We've proven it this season. Like Manchester City just won a treble last year, and they're still currently in a title race. They're still competing for basically except the Carabao Cup, all the other competitions that they're in. They've won trophies this season already, the Club World Cup, the Super Cup, all that type of stuff. We've basically taken over their guy, Omar Barada, midway through the season, and we're a rival club as well. And it's also the way that we did it too. It's just the fact that nobody really knew about it, myself included. There were no reports before all this took place when we took Omar Barada from Manchester City, but it's just the approach that we're taking. Ineos is not even entirely here yet, and it already looks like they want to make a lot of changes. Another thing that I actually did read about before I post this tweet is that I heard Ineos have been speaking to Ralph Ragnick, and that is something that, even though Ralph Ragnick's time here at United, in terms of managerial, wasn't the best. I don't think he's a good manager, but what I do know is that he could be a good advisory to the club because no one came out and said it before him. He came out and said that United needed an open heart surgery. And the fact that they're speaking to him because he's seen the inside and outside of this club, and he was the first one to speak out about all of that stuff. And he said that after a Liverpool game as well, like one of our biggest games, or biggest rivals that we play against. He came out in the press and he said what he said, and now everyone has kind of opened a lot of the fan base's eyes. Some people, including myself, already knew the problems that were at United, but a lot of these other newer fans and the younger fans too did not know that the reason why we're in this rut at this moment and we haven't won a title for a decade is just because of our how we take this club seriously and the approach that we take in terms of getting this club back to its success. And Ralph Ragnick, the fact that they're speaking to Ralph Ragnick does kind of make me happy because Ralph Ragnick, I feel like, did know these problems at this club. He's called out players, he's called out the Glazers, he's called out just this club in general. The fact that he said we needed an open heart surgery speaks volumes. And it's just, yeah, it's the fact that there were a lot of recommendations, and RSV brings this up too. He says Ralph Ragnick is a great sporting advisor. He recommended the board to sign Enzo and Alvarez when they were still available in South America for less than 50 million. He also recommended them to sign Nkunku. So it's just stuff like this, man. Like, he brought names to the table, and he knew what was. And this is not necessarily saying that Enzo and Alvarez, and he also mentions Badiashile and Caicedo would have fixed our club and would have had us competing for the bigger trophies. But it's just the fact that he's bought suitable names and the right names to the table, and it's the Glazers who said no to all of this. And the fact that Ineos are speaking to Ralph Ragnick when it comes to this type of stuff, hey, just makes me happy, man. It's like it again. It goes back to the fact that we're trying to make this club serious again, and it's gonna take time. I don't know how long it's gonna take. We could be in this rut for years, 5 years, 6 years. It's all up to whether our club wants to bring us back to where we belong again. So let me bring up this tweet real quick about his whole laptop and stuff like that. Let's see. You guys in the chat, let me know if everything sounds okay too in terms of audio. If you guys can see me clearly, I would like to, excuse me, I would like to apologize in advance if I do whatever, for whatever reason, do like, freeze out. I will be back. Just hang in there. I will be back because I do sometimes have some technical difficulties. But here, let me get into this tweet real quick. So let's see. All right. So Henry Winter, this is a very he's like a chief, here you can see right here, chief football writer for Time Sport. So someone who's credible, I guess you could say. He's got around like 1.3 million followers. He says on Dan Ashworth's laptop is a detailed rundown on every player imaginable, all areas and ages. He knows their strengths and weaknesses, their stats, their character and agents. He's more than a meticulous recruiter. He builds elite cultures. Huge coup if MUFC can prize him from Newcastle. He also says he's more than a full laptop. A few points, and I'm not going to get into all of this because this is a very, very big tweet, but he says a few points on Dan Ashworth. Worth noting that his career path reveals he focuses more on the opportunity and scale of project, not salary. Just before England flew back from Russia 2018, he asked Dan why he was leaving them now for Brighton. He insisted it was nothing to do with money. I've never been money driven. It's got nothing to do with that. I left West Brom to come to England for less. I want to be able to, when I finish my career, with a range of experiences and feeling that I've consistently pushed and challenged, had new experiences. A little bit of my personality is that I do think I've really enjoyed building, getting going in a new project. Once a new project is up and running, maybe that doesn't suit me quite so much. He loves the new project at Newcastle. Obviously, United operation under Ratcliffe and Brailsford is a huge project to him. Um, Another reason why he's well suited to United is because why would Newcastle want to keep him given local talent is his commitment to youth. So he's someone that I guess prioritizes youth and prioritizes good signings, like you said it right here, opportunity and scale of project, not salary. So for him, it's not the fact that, and obviously, this all these tweets that we're reading, I'm not necessarily saying that this is what we should go by, but it's just the fact that he's United are a club who always throw money at people, right? And yes, I mean, I'm not sure if we are willing to throw a lot of money at this guy, but from what I'm hearing and from the jobs that he's taken before too, is that yes, I guess money does play a factor to him a little bit, but it's also the fact that he wants to join a good sporting project, and in his own eyes, thinks that the Ineos regime and this whole project that we have currently, or that something that we might get into, might be a good fit for him. And he also does seem like someone who wants a challenge. He's taken Brighton and he's made them into this club that obviously produces great talent and, can ship them off to bigger clubs and get good profit off of that. And he's also done that with West Brom. He worked with England for a while. I also know that I think when a lot of these players who were integrated into the England team, helped develop them a lot as well. Like, the likes of Phil Foden, Trent, all these type of players too, right? So it's good, man. I mean, it's all good, nice to hear right now, but we really just have to see what the whole ideal and the sole project is going to be with Dan Ashworth at the club. Another thing they've added is he is so devoted to detail and development that he looks at players' date of birth, especially September, October, in relation to age group they play in. Late developers, those small who may suddenly grow to see if they might blossom at 18, 19. He's adamant about giving potential chances to grow. Ashworth leaves nothing to chance. As a former PE teacher and married to a teacher, I don't know why they have to mention that, but Ashworth, aware of kids' fitness levels, he even talked to Marines at a UK sport working group about the concern of raw material coming into the army and into football in terms of kids' fitness levels and what could improve it, basically. Some last two final points that I guess he tweeted and I will get into as well is that he's very likable. He has a very minimal ego and he gets on with people. I criticized him at one point over an issue at the FA, and he calmly talked me through his thinking. Final point. Ashworth to always admire Gary Neville as a player and thinker about the game. Ashworth is well suited to United, but Newcastle won't let him go cheaply because he's good. Don't know why they mentioned Gary Neville in that last thing, but I guess I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know why they mentioned Gary Neville in that tweet. But my whole summary that I can basically get from this, right, is the fact that Dan Ashworth is someone who's, like he said, I guess he has a minimal ego, but he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about, all the glamour and the fame. He's more and very locked into the fact that he wants to work under a very good sporting project. And if he can believe that the sporting project is something that he could thrive in, he will do his best to get the clubs back to where the clubs belong or just have them competing again. And that's something that I do like about Dan Ashworth. And like I said before, and I'm gonna reiterate this again, I'm not super gassed that Dan Ashworth is, might be coming into the club, but I do like the fact that United are looking at people like Dan Ashworth to help bring this club back to where we basically belong. So, yeah, that's great, man. I mean, I hope we do eventually get him. I still, like I said, have to see what we will do when we have someone like Dan Ashford at the club. But it all just basically depends on yeah, it just depends a lot on the manager that we end up getting because I don't really think we keep Ten Hag past this season. If we're My whole thing again is that if we're making all these type of signings, right, and we're looking to basically get the best of the best when it comes to all these specific departments, I feel like they're also looking at candidates for the managerial position. RSV, I'm located in Sacramento, my guy, Sacramento, California, by the way. But yeah, um, I just think, yeah, like I hope we do. You guys know my thoughts about the manager. You can see it in previous videos that I've had. I think I'm Ten Hag out. I don't think Ten Hag should be beyond the season. Even if let's say Ten Hag wins us the FA Cup, I still think he needs to go. If we are going into this new regime, this new setup, everybody looks like it's gonna like everybody who's at the club at the moment seems like they're gonna be new faces. And if we're getting the best of the best, I don't think we should take the managerial department lightly either. I think we should try to go out and get the best of the best. Some names that I guess I could take is like Hansi Flick, managers like Diego Simeone, like just not exactly big names, but um, good managers, experienced managers, some managers who could work in a very good system like that. I've also heard some of our fans say that they would like to see Ten Hag next season. They would like to see Ten Hag be under a good football structure and see what he can produce from there. Um, for me, it's a lot more than just Ten Hag, like, and his. It's a lot more for me than just that. I'd rather see an experienced manager under a good structure than Ten Hag, because there's a lot of decisions that Ten Hag has made in terms of on-field decisions, off-field decisions that have led me to this conclusion that I am with him at this moment. Like the whole Jaden Sancho situation, the specific treatment that he gives to certain players, the whole idea of the signings that he's tried to bring in, and then also just what is our style of play at this moment? He's been here almost 2 years at this club, and we can't specifically identify the style that we play. So it's just a lot of those things come in factor for me on why he doesn't need to be at this club or why he shouldn't be at this club, basically. RSV also says, I'd rather see the players who have down tools on previous managers go first before the manager. I totally understand. You're someone who wants, the players to change too, and I'm all for that too. I think a lot of the players don't need to be here as well. Like these players, some of these players that we've seen have been at this club through several managers, and they've let all these managers down. But I think because of how these players performed last season, the fact that they were able to win a trophy, the fact that we were able to compete for the top four, even though I didn't think we would make the top four right away under Ten Hag. Um, I can, with chest say this clearly that Ten Hag did a good job last season with what we had and the position that we were in. He overachieved for sure, 100%. But it's this season where I started to doubt Ten Hag. Even moments in last season too is where I started to doubt Ten Hag in terms of his team selections, in terms of just the fact that we don't know the style of play that he's playing, certain like lineups, like I said, just also just the culture at the club too. These players, some of these players, second season in, have already given up on him. Like Varane, I feel like doesn't play for him. Casemiro sometimes doesn't. I feel like doesn't play for the manager. Rashford is certainly not playing for the manager anymore. There's a lot of these players who do need to go, and there's my whole point with this is that if Ten Hag was able to get the best out of these players last season, and for whatever reason they're just not performing right now, I definitely think that an experienced manager could not overachieve, but at least could try to bring out that same type of mentality and the same type of results and production that we had last season. I think an experienced manager could do that 100%. You bring this experienced manager in, um, he sees how the team is, and we all know this thing that every player gets a clean slate when a new manager does come into the club. So now all these players who are at our team at the moment, the likes of Bruno who are starting in, day out, now they have to prove again to this new manager, if a new manager does come in, why they deserve to be in the starting 11 every single week. And I think I look forward to that because there's a lot of these players in our current lineup, Bruno, Anthony, Garnacho, even though I think Garnacho is not prem proven at the moment, Garnacho, the likes of these guys, Rashford, who don't deserve to start week in, week out. But under a new manager, they'd have to prove why they think they should start week in, week out. And I look forward to that. Our new manager might see that certain players don't fit his system, certain players don't fit the way he wants to play, and he might look to move on those players. So it's looking good. I mean, in terms of I want to see a new manager at the club. Me personally, obviously, we're all entitled to our own opinions, and I'm not going to judge anybody on their opinions. But we're all entitled to our own opinions. I think if we get an experienced manager in, and still some of these players, if some of these players are still here, I still think that we could get at least competing for the top four next season. And like I said, we're United. We're a club that has a very, very big standards, but at the same time, we can't just jump to the ship that, we'll be competing for the title next season. I think we do need to start taking baby steps. And the main minimal, like the minimum expectation for our club next season would be to compete at least for the top four. So those are my thoughts about Dan Ashworth and just this whole appointment. And we still have a lot of this, the season's not even over yet. When we get into the summers, where we'll see a lot of these decisions that this regime is going to make, and we'll make our conclusions from there. But the whole idea of not specifically just signing Dan Ashworth or the fact that we're linked to someone like him, it's just the fact that we're trying to get people who belong in the right departments, and we're trying to basically get the best people who belong in all these departments. So that's something that I look forward to. So, um, moving past this whole Dan Ashford conversation, if you guys have any other questions or comments that you would want to leave about this, definitely drop them in. Thank you guys for all being here. I see there's around 4 to 5 people in the chat at this moment. Whoever you guys are, thank you guys for all being here so far. Great conversation to have about this whole Dan Ashford stuff. And yeah, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, share it across all your socials, let everybody know that Sheik's gone live. But yeah, we'll move on to the next part of the video. So we'll move on to the Luton Town and Man United fixture, right? So Luton Town, surprisingly, I don't think anybody expected Luton Town to have the season that they're kind of having. I think a lot of people still predict Luton Town to be relegated. Myself, actually, I think Luton Town do stay up. From what I've seen Luton Town play, especially at home, they're very, very impressive. Ross Barkley, to name some of the players, Adebayo that they have right now, they're definitely overperforming their expectations at the club at this moment. I don't think anybody expected Luton Town to play the way that they are, beat certain teams, or even draw with certain teams that they have currently into the season. I think they drew with Liverpool, if I'm not wrong, and Arsenal at home too. Um, we only beat them 1-0 at Old Trafford. So just the fact that the way that they've been playing, and I really do like the way that Luton Town do play too. One of the things that people said in the beginning of the season was that Luton Town, the only way they score are from set pieces, and now they're actually proving that they're more than a team just based off of set pieces. So that is something that I'm definitely looking forward to in terms of that. Um, when it comes to Luton Town, obviously we do play them this weekend, and my honest thoughts is that this is not going to be an easy game. On paper, with the standards that I have for this club, we should be beating Luton Town, right? Whether it's home or away. It's Luton Town at the end of the day. It's a championship team that have just been promoted to the Premier League. So on paper, even with the players that we have, we should be beating Luton Town. I wouldn't say comfortably, but we should be beating them. Like my prediction actually for this game is like a 2-0 to United. And you guys can drop in your predictions for this game as well. But even if we just look at some of the last like results that they've had, right? Um, Luton Town. Let's see real quick. I'm gonna try to bring up the screen. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, some of the notable wins that they have, or not the notable wins, like that game that they had with Newcastle, 4-4. What a game, man! The fact that they scored 4 goals at St. James's Park is crazy. Like Newcastle is not a tough place to go to travel to. Like every single time we go to Newcastle, I kind of do predict a draw or a loss because Newcastle is not a tough place to go. But they've had some good results, man, and that's something that I'm like, it's I'm looking forward to. Basically, how am I not able to get to this screen? Oh, yeah, there we go. Cool. All right, let me share this real quick. Yeah, you guys definitely drop your questions if you have any type of questions in the chat. But yeah, these are excuse me, these are Luton Town's results, the past 4 results. So the last game that they played against Sheffield, surprisingly they took a L at home too. They lost 3-1 to Sheffield. But look at the games before that, right? 4-4 to Newcastle away, 4-0 to Brighton, a 1-1 draw with Luton, and then they with Burnley, and then they obviously lost to Chelsea at home as well. And that was also a very pretty close game for their standards and in terms of them. But um, my whole idea is that Luton Town is not going to be an easy fixture. It's going to be like we've seen how United have played this season too, right? There's moments where we have capitulated. There's moments where we've taken leads, and suddenly, all of a sudden, our performance just drops off massively. One of my biggest critiques that I've had from certain players and just our team in general is that We play well for a certain period of the game, and then after that, we won't see anything else from these players. Like a lot of the one of the complaints that I've had from Hoyland, and shout out to Hoyland, like Hoyland has been doing his thing for the past like 5 games. I think he's 5-5 now in all comps. So he's starting to pick up form. But some of the complaints that I've had with Hoyland is that he'll score a goal, and after that he'll ghost for the rest of the game. And I feel like that is something that United have been doing season and like this whole season so far, basically, that could bite us against this Luton team. Like, trust me, Luton Town are going to be fully up for this game. To play. I think a lot of the players who are Luton Town, not taking away like I'm not even talking about players like Barkley, talking about these other Premier League players who are in that club at the moment. Just players who've come from the Championship get to finally play against a team like Manchester United. Like me personally, if I was a player on Luton Town, I'd be totally gassed for this game, right? Warrior J also says that Luton 3-2 defeat against us. I'm not gonna lie, I just was sweating at the end. Yeah, they actually gave you guys a very, very good game. I'm not. I think it was like they almost basically equalized, if I'm not wrong, right? So, excuse me. They basically, yeah, like they're a good side at home. If this was Luton Town at OT, 100% I would have been a lot more confident and been like, yes, we should beat Luton Town. We should definitely beat them by a couple of goals, and it should be a comfortable win, right? But the fact that Luton Town they only conceded one goal against us, and I'm pretty sure you could correct me if I'm wrong. It was the Scott McTominay winner. Like this guy, do. Scott McTominay, like this guy, Scott McTominay scored a winner against Luton. That's probably how we won the game. Um, but scoring four at Newcastle, scoring 4-0 against Brighton, and this is Brighton that we talk about, all this deserby hype and shit like that. Um, it's definitely something that, is something to something to congratulate them about because, man, Eli, big up to you, bro. This is the guy who will tell you about Luton Town himself. Like, he'll give you his thoughts about Luton Town. I know he probably thinks that they stay up as well, but it's my whole idea is that, this is not a team that we should be taking lightly at all. Um, but yeah, like, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm nervous about this game. I would say that I'm more on the side that we should be beating this team on paper, but we'll see how it goes, man. I've predicted you guys can drop your predictions in the chat too. I predicted a 2-0 win against Luton. Um I think like if we're on this good form that people say that we should be beating Luton, man. But yeah. Last thing I'll do because I'm gonna end this video pretty soon. It's not gonna be too long. Obviously, I'm just by myself, real quick. But last thing I will do is a predicted lineup for this game. I do honestly think that he'll go with the same lineup. So he'll probably go because Leach is still out injured. Leach will be out injured for a month. Warrior J also says that Luton Town does want to show a reaction from the defeat against Sheffield. That's another reason why I think that they'll be fully gassed for this game. Like they will turn up. Their fans, these players, like I said, man, if you think of it from a personal perspective, a lot of these players have not played against. Some of these players probably dream to play against United, right? And to play United at home, some of the fans probably want to think that yeah, some of their fans probably are excited to see a team like United come to Luton and have a game there. So it's like a lot of those personal things, and also the fact that they took a L against a team like Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United gets relegated this year, and the fact that they took a L against a team like that, given their home form and how they've been performing against certain teams, yeah, they will definitely be gassed for this game, man. Eli also says, I think they beat y'all 2-1 due to your manager doing a madness. Hey, bro, Ten Hag will be Ten Hag, I guess. But I do agree with you. If we do lose this game, it'll be down to Ten Hag and maybe his substitutions and just the way that we set up for this game, his in-game management, all that type of stuff. We do know that if the game is 0-0 or we're losing at a certain period of time, 60th to 70th minute, he will bring on Scott McTominay to try to do a madness. But he also says Rob Edwards masterclass incoming. Hey, bro, we'll see, man. We'll see. It's definitely not an easy game. That's one thing that I will say. But I think we should beat Luton Town, man, 100%. If people say that we're on this good form that we are, I don't think we're actually in any type of good form. These games that we've won have been due to individual brilliances. The Wolves game was due to shout out best midfielder in the Premier League, Kobe Manu, my guy. That game was all down to him because if it wasn't for him, that was a massive capitulation because I thought we played really, really well in the first half. We were 2-0 up. And then going into the second half, Neto just completely cooked us, man, and he was doing a madness, and that game could have easily ended up as like a 2-2, right? Like sorry, a 3-3, right? And then West Ham are just West Ham. There's a reason why we put three past them at home. Arsenal put six past them at their house. West Ham or West Ham, so I'm not even taking too much from that game. But also just the what was the last time we played? The Villa game. Villa game was all due to Scott McTominay doing a madness. So yeah, man, it's just we were people can say that we're in a form based off of the results that we've recently had, but if you really deep the performances that we've had in these past two games, not near good enough at all. But yeah, I think in terms of the predicted lineup, I think we go with the same team. We go with who is it? Onana in goal. We go with Varane, Maguire, probably. Well, Luke Shaw, I think, is injured now, so he might start Wan-Bissaka, or he might even play Lindelof. I don't know what this guy does, but I would go with Wan-Bissaka to start, and I'd play Dallo in the left back position. And then in the midfield, stick with the same. Probably, even though I would like Ericsson to be into the team, he'll probably go with Kobe Manu and Casemiro as a double pivot, and then Bruno in the 10. And then up front, we'll have Hoyland on the left, Rashford, and on the right, Garnacho. So in terms of that, I think he pretty much sticks with, bar this Luke Shaw injury, I think he sticks with that same lineup. Um, what Eli has already let us know his predictions. Warrior J does think that we'll win. Anybody else in the chat, if you do want to drop your predictions, definitely feel free to do that. But yes, I will be closing out, guys. Kind of like a short video too. Like I said, it was just going to be a little bit about the Dan Ashworth news. If you guys are just tuning in or watching this back, you guys can check a little bit at the start of the video where I gave my thoughts about Dan Ashworth. I'll reiterate this again just for as like a conclusion to this video. Um, it's not Dan Ashworth that I'm getting excited about. It is more the direction that we are going in. Trying to get people like Dan Ashworth into the club. That's what I basically like, right? Big up to you, Ronnie. I think this is the first time I've seen you on this chat, my bro. So big up to you. He says Luton Town 2, Man United 4. Definitely new people who are showing up. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you haven't already. And yeah, like the next time you'll probably see me is I will be on Flawless's channel. So shout out to Flawless, Sarcasm City TV. Definitely subscribe there. I will be there for the watch along for Luton Town and United. And then immediately after that game, we will do a match reaction here where I will be with Spooby, someone who's not here today. He's a regular on this channel. I will be with Spooby if he's around. We will be giving our thoughts about that whole fixture and how the game does play out. And then if you guys already don't know, every single Monday, we do a show called The Mud Brothers. So we will have myself, Eli, Curry P, Will, if Will is around, and Spooby for the Mud Brothers show, where we basically talk about news regarding the Arsenal, United, and Chelsea. Warrior J says off topic, could you rate someone? You know what it is, Warrior J? I do not know how to rate someone. I'm just gonna keep it simple. Like, I really do not know how to rate someone. Let me try to figure this out, though. I got you, Warrior J. Let me try to figure this out real quick. See if I can rate someone. Let's see. Who shall we rate? Let me know who's live real quick, Warrior J, and I will go ahead and rate someone for you, my friend. But let's see, YouTube Studio. You know what? Flawless was telling me how to rate someone too, and I just completely don't know how to do it. Yes, I could rate Steve 100%. I just got to figure out how you do it. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Tube Studio. I'm gonna try to figure this out, Warrior J. If I'm not able to do it, then hey, I'm just not able to do it. But I will figure out how to do it definitely after I'm done with this video. Let's see. If y'all could, let me try to Google this real quick. How to. Hey, mind me all. I'm very very new to this. Okay, so I don't know how to do all this type of stuff. But let's see. Someone on YouTube. I'm not trying to watch all these videos, y'all. Please just let me know. How do I rate someone? let's see. Go to settings and go to community, and then under live redirects, enter specific channels you want to allow. Okay. Where is live redirects? Trying to look for him. I can't find him though. Warrior J, drop his channel name real quick. Oh, I found him. Cool. Um, cool. Yeah. So I will go ahead and do that. So we've done that. Let me know if it does get rated. I don't know if it has already or not, but yeah, it should have done it. It should have basically done it. Now that I know how to do it, I can definitely do it every single time now. But yeah, thank you guys for all tuning in. Once again, this was a Chic TV match preview for the Luton game, and we also did talk more about this whole. Hey, Churro, I see you, bro. I see you, Churro man. I see you, brother. But yeah, this was a discussion about this whole Dan Ashworth news to United. And then this was also basically a preview to the Luton Town game. So thank you guys for all tuning in. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your Friday. You guys will see me on Sarcasm City TV on Sunday, and then back here on this channel for a match reaction. So everybody have a good one. Stay blessed. Take care. All that good stuff. And yeah, man, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Right? Big up to everyone. Big up.